Hello, and welcome to the first episode in this murder series. Firstly, forgive me, I do not speak Canton, but to try and stay true to the story, I will try to pronounce the names of all people and locations to keep authenticity. In May of 1999, a 14-year-old girl, only known as Afong, made her way into a police station in Jim Sa Joy, Hong Kong. There she told the police officers that for several weeks now she had been visited and tormented by the ghost of a woman that had been violently tortured to death. The police brushed her off, dismissing her claims as nothing but wild dreams and a weird fantasy. They took no notice of her. However, when she finally explained that the ghost she was seeing was of a woman that she had helped to murder, she had gotten their full attention. The police followed the child back to a rundown apartment in the Kowloon district. There, they quickly discovered that what the girl had first stated was not a dream, but in fact, a real, life nightmare. Inside of the apartment, they found a large Hello Kitty doll with the decapitated skull of a woman inside. The case quickly became known as the Hello Kitty murder and was regarded throughout Hong Kong as one of the most depraved crimes in their history. The police soon discovered that the severed head belonged to a woman called Fan Man-Yee. Let's go back to her beginning. Fan Man-Yee's life story was already sad and tragic even before her brutal murder. Fan Man-Yee was abandoned by her family as a child. She was raised in a girl's home. She had already developed a drug habit by the time she had reached her teens. She was unfortunately turning to prostitution to now pay for her drug habit. At 23, she had managed to secure a job as a hostess at a nightclub called Romance Villa Nightclub. The term hostess is loosely used, as this was usually a disguise for a prostitute. She was still battling her addiction whilst trying to turn her life around. In early 1997, Fan Man-Yee met Chan Man-Luk. The two met at the nightclub where she worked, and soon discovered that they had something in common. Fan Man-Yee was a prostitute and a drug addict, while Chan Man-Luk was a pimp and a drug dealer. This relationship was bound for disaster from the very beginning. Before long, Man-Yee was a regular in Man-Luk's close circle of friends. Later, in 1997, desperate for money and drugs, Fan Man-Yee decided to steal Man-Luk's wallet. The wallet contained around 4,000 Hong Kong dollars. She hadn't realized that Chan Man-Luk had a sinister side and was in fact the last person she should have stolen from, as she was soon to find out. When he had saw that his cash was gone, Man-Luk ordered two of his employees, Luen Shin Chol and Luen Wei Lun, to kidnap Man-Yee. His initial intention was to force Man-Yee into prostitution for himself to earn the money back that she had stolen from him. However, before long, that plan had spiraled way out of control. At some point, the trio had decided that simply prostituting Fan Man-Yee wasn't going to be enough to pay for stealing the wallet and disrespecting Man-Luk, and began torturing the poor girl. They tied her up and beat her mercilessly day after day after day. Over the next month, she was subjected to being brutally raped. They took sadistic pleasure in burning her all over her body and her feet using wax and plastic. The trio took turns urinating into her mouth and forcing her to eat feces of Chan Man-lok's girlfriend. We will never know the full extent of what she had to endure during those hellish last few days of her life. Though the torture and murder of Fan Man-Yee was truly horrifying, what may actually be more horrifying about the situation is that the young girl reporting the crime to the police, not only was she reporting the killers of Fan Man-Yee, but she was also one of them herself. Ah Fong, a pseudonym given to her by the Hong Kong courts, as the girl is only 14 years old and her identity needed to be protected. She was the girlfriend of Chan Man-lok. Though the term girlfriend was very loosely used, in likelihood the girl was just another one of his prostitutes. At one point, when Ah Fong was visiting Man-lok's apartment, she witnessed Man-lok kick Man-Yee around 50 times in the head and chest. Ah Fong joined in with the torture, hitting Man-Yee in the head several times. The exact details of the extent of the torture inflicted by Ah Fong were never released to the public. This was part of her plea deal. There is no doubt that her role was significant and would have caused extensive injury and suffering to Man-Yee. When asked about what she felt about her actions, she coldly replied, "I had a feeling it was for fun." After around a month of torture, Ah Fong had discovered that Fan Man-Yee died during the night. Chan Man-lok, Liu Ching-cho, and Liu Wei-lun argued that she had certainly died from an overdose of methamphetamines that she had administered by herself to escape her new, cruel reality. Most experts speculate that it was her injuries eventually killing her, and this is probably the likelihood. Experts can only speculate what the actual cause of death was, as there is no possible way to know for sure. After discovering that Man-Yee was dead, Liu Ching-cho and Liu Wei-lun moved Man-Yee's body into the apartment's bathroom and began dismembering her body with saws. They then cooked the individual pieces of her body to stop her from decomposing. The killers boiled pieces of her body and disposed of them with the household's trash. It was reported that they boiled her body parts where they cooked the food that they ate and used the same utensils. There are unconfirmed reports that residents of the building had contacted the local police department to complain of an overwhelming odour coming from the apartment, but there is nothing to confirm nor disprove this. For some unbeknown reason, they decided to save her head. After boiling it on the stove, they sewn her boiled skull into a Hello Kitty mermaid doll. They also kept one of Fan Man-Yee's teeth and several of her internal organs, which they stored in a plastic bag. In exchange for her protection, something she most likely would have received anyway, as she was so young at the time, Ah Fong testified against Chan Man-lok, Liu Ching-cho, and Liu Wei-lun in an attempt to rid herself of the haunting of Fan Man-Yee. As disturbing as the tragic story of Man-Yee's death was, many still felt that there was no way that it could possibly be true, and the evidence uncovered by police was damning and frankly disturbing. The apartment in which Man-Yee had been tortured was full of Hello Kitty memorabilia, from bed sheets and curtains to towels and cutlery. The body part trophies taken from Man-Yee were also found inside of the apartment. It was evident that all three men had interacted with them. Unfortunately, due to the state of Fan Man-Yee's remaining body parts, the police and medical examiners were unable to determine her actual cause of death. There is no doubt, though, that she had in fact endured indescribable torture, and that the three men had inflicted all of the damage to her body. But there was still no way to tell whether a drug overdose or the torture was the final result, causing the tragic end of her life. Because of this fact, the three men were not convicted of murder, but instead manslaughter. The jury decided that although they had caused her death was not actually the intent. The charges left the Hong Kong public reeling from the Hello Kitty murder. The trio were rightfully sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 20 years. What makes this crime even more worse than it already is the fact that Fan Man-Yee had already returned the money that she had stolen from Chan Man Lok, with an additional 10,000 Hong Kong dollars in interest. A few questions remain though. Who actually was Ah Fong? The likelihood is we will never know her real identity. And where is she now? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe she left Hong Kong. She could be living next door to you. Thank you for listening to the Hello Kitty murder. If you have a true story that happened to you, or someone that you know, or in your town, city, or country, please contact me. Until next time, stay safe.